This episode of Misery Hunters is brought to you by Paisley Craft Beer Co., Paisley's #1 and only craft beer venue. You can sit in and take away, and we've also just introduced a local delivery service. So if you live in the Renfrewshire area and are looking for craft beer, we can deliver the same day if you order before 1 o'clock. Next day delivery is well for any time after that. Minimum order is £20. Any orders over 60, you get free delivery. So what are you waiting for? Go to paisleycraftbeer.com. That's paisleycraftbeer.com. Hello, you miserable bastards, and welcome to the Misery Hunters podcast. My name is Jamie Coburn, and joining me is Sam Smith.
Good evening.
Andrew Christie.
All right.
And Mark Jardine.
Good evening.
There's going to be some very heavy lifting on this podcast by the two people who've actually seen the 90 minutes of the game. Well, I mean, Sam, you said you were there. Did you see the 90 minutes or did you leave?
No, I did actually. Sadly, sat and watched every single minute. But it was obviously the worst result in 30 years. So. I'm not starting off in that. It was definitely not as bad as what people made it out to be. I think if you're going to look at the scoreline, then you're going to kind of assume the worst. But we had more than enough chances to go and win the game. I think Shaughnessy's hit the bar. Either him or Gallagher, I'm not 100% sure. Had one cleared off the line. Grieve skied one over the bar inside, just outside the 6-yard box. They've had a claim for a penalty waved away. Grieve had a couple of headers that went just wide in the first half, so we had more than enough chances to win it and be out of sight. Then on another day, you probably could have won it 3 or 4-1. But credit to Arbroath, that's why they were nearly promoted to that's why they were about 20 minutes away from the Premiership last year. They came here, caused an upset, set up really well, and I think in fairness to them, the changes they made in the last sort of 10-15 minutes of the game really swung it in their favour. They've gave ourselves a bit of a hill to climb to try and qualify for the group. I would imagine we'll win the last 3 games, but it might not be enough for a best runner-up place, but we'll see what happens.
I think it helped that Arbroath, as a group, were pretty unchanged from the kind of squad that ended last season, so there was a bit more kind of togetherness. And obviously, I'm not making excuses. Losing to Arbroath is kind of far from where we should be, but we do have guys that have come in, a matter of weeks ago, and we're still kind of gelling. From all accounts, we've had a very tough pre-season in terms of like a lot of running, a lot of work. So you could see that there was a wee bit of legginess, and it's not. I'm just kind of find it quite hard to get too angry at it. To be honest, It's. I don't know, like you said, it's whether we can make up for it. Even winning the remainder of the games might not be enough. And kind of if we do get in as a best run-up, the draw in the next round will kind of not go in our favour. But it's early days, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I think if we're talking about very poor results, then I'd probably have the draw with Spartans as worse than a last-minute defeat by a team that, as Sam said, we're 20 minutes from the division. It's not good enough. Losing to a part-time team isn't good enough. Drawing with a part-time team isn't good enough, but by all accounts, and by that I mean speaking to the two of you and looking at Twitter, we had lots of chances that we didn't take. It wasn't that Arbroath put us to the sword for 93 minutes and rightfully took away a winner at the end of it. And in kind of fairly normal circumstances, we would have scored at least 1 or 2. We ideally wouldn't have let our man go in injury time for them to get a goal, and no one ever talks about the game ever again. So I don't think you can throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think it was a bad result, not necessarily the worst performance of all time. And if all things going well, we're going to have like 45, 46 games this year. The first game's not that important.
I also don't think it's a game or a result that we can kind of glean anything from in terms of how we're going to be this season. Like, we've got people, I mean, I know it's a very Samantha thing to do, but we've got people losing their head saying it shows we're going to get relegated, it shows XYZ, whatever. But the League Cup, the qualifying rounds, is basically replaced pre-season, and people are at various levels of fitness and various levels of sharpness, and it's nothing that can't be brought back.
I mean, I think it's a massive case of short memory, where like I've not enjoyed any of these games in like the wee group stage of the Betfred, the Premier Sports Cup as it's now known. But I remember having to beat Albion Rovers on penalties. Did we not lose to someone really small?
East Kilbride.
We lost East Kilbride on penalties, right?
Yeah. I remember the game
That's a worse result.
Edinburgh City being really poor as well, and like this isn't new. This is like, again, yes, we should expect better, but there is a massive overreaction coming here where people are already calling for the manager to get sacked and stuff like that. That's nuts, calling it the worst performance in 30 years and all this kind of stuff. It is a massive overreaction. You can be disappointed at this. We should expect better. That is the case.
100%. And like, see just even to look like close. See for a worse result last year. Granted, they won penalties, but the fact that we had to scramble, I think, obviously the League Cup group stages were kind of in the middle of like the game week 11 and 12 run about last season. We were 2-0 down to Queen of the South when we were in the full swing of a season, fully fit against a team that hadn't even started the league season back, and had to scramble back and score 2 goals in the last 20 minutes of the game to draw 2-8. Granted, you win penalties, but that's even worse. Like, people forget, regardless of the argument of part-time or not, that they were the second best team in that league last season. It doesn't matter if they're part-time or not. They're a good football team. They're clearly hard to beat, and I think probably, I reckon if they were going to go up against most of the teams in our league at the weekend, maybe bar Aberdeen, who've been pretty comfortable in their 2 games, they would have probably beat them as well. So, it's not worth panicking about for me.
Mm-hmm.
We beat Dundee United in the relegation playoff, a few years back. Would we have been calling for the manager's head if they'd beat us 1-0 with last minute winner the following year's League Cup?
No.
Probably not. I just don't think it's that big a deal.
One of the points that we could bring up for the fact that we've kind of said there we had a lot of chances and we didn't take them, and that seems to be a sort of ongoing story. I'm not going to start belting out that we need a 20-goal striker or whatever, but do we need to slightly worry about where the goals would come from?
No, not for me yet. I don't think it's fair to. Again, I think it's after one game. It's pretty premature, so it's maybe a bit early to start kind of worrying about that. There's plenty of guys who have shown in pre-season. I think Offord scored a couple, Greaves scored a couple over the 2 games, the Younger scored as well. So, listen, there's plenty of time before we can start worrying about that. I think it's more, we're going to be playing a more attacking style this season. Now, Robinson's, he keeps saying it. I think he's going to say it to his blue in the face. We're going to play a 4-3-3. We're going to be a wee bit more attacking than we have been, so it should naturally present more chances for the strikers. So, a wee confidence booster at the weekend. Hopefully, obviously, he said he's looking to get Brophy back involved. A wee confidence booster, get him on for 20 minutes, get him a couple of he comes on and gets a goal or 2. If he starts off, or if he gets a goal or 2, you could really kind of set their season off in the right manner and get them a bit of confidence in front of goal before the real stuff starts against Motherwell.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Ayunga looked really positive coming in off of a wide position against Linfield, which I did watch, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he started centrally in the Arbroath game. I think you're looking at him as at least your 3rd, if not 4th choice central striker. If Brophy and Main are fit, you've got to assume one of them's playing the central role, and Ayunga's going to be wide. You've also got Grieve, who, although I think he's kind of taken to the wide role that he plays for New Zealand, they could also play centrally. Offord and Jameson naturally are both central strikers. I don't think you were looking at, game week 1 line up there or anything close to it. I think I wouldn't be reading too much into it in terms of issues we might have in front of goal off the back of that. I think you factor in all the kind of usual rustiness and the fact that I think we've still got a fair change in personnel and shape to come as things develop. But I just don't think it indicates too much one way or another. I think it's a fairly isolated example, if I'm honest.
Yeah, actually.
We're 5 starters. I think Robinson nailed it on. We're probably 5 starters away for guys that are in the squad already that were out injured or suspended or whatever. I think you've obviously got Strain, Brophy, Main. You've still obviously got. I mean, he's Baccus isn't even in the country yet, so like there's plenty that still needs to be implemented into it before we need to start worrying. For me,
I saw a few people moaning on Twitter about Baccus not being in the country yet and why did we bother signing him and all this kind of stuff. This is not, just so you're aware, this is not an isolated incident. Like Hibs are having issues, like nearly every team in
Aberdeen.
Like there's a lot of players that are having like basically issues because of, I think the Ukrainian work permits are at the top of the government's list at the moment and not some footballers. So patience, and if what all the fans are saying about him, like all the Western Sydney Wanderers fans are saying about him, then we've got an absolute cracking player there. So that's definitely a positive to come into the team. As you said, we've got a few injuries or a few players who like are with us because they weren't getting a lot of game time at their previous clubs. Like you said there about Ryan Strain, like he was quite frustrated at when he was playing in Israel and he wasn't getting a lot of first team football. So for him just to be straight into it would be a big ask. So yeah. Talking about some of the signings that we've had, like you managed to see them in person. Anybody you're quite excited for?
O'Hara for me, quite. I really like the look of O'Hara. I've always take to guys who are a wee bit more physically gifted than others, but also have a wee bit of flair and a good bit of skill about them. I definitely think at both ends of the pitch he'll be pretty effective. You know, he's actually got a semi-decent goal return for a midfielder as well. He covers, I think, for Motherwell he played all over the place. Even when he was at Dundee, he's played right back, he's played centre half, he's played right of a three, in a back three, he's played in behind the striker. No, he's a guy who'll cover a lot of positions, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him as he goes on, progresses for us. I thought any time I've seen him so far, he looks good. He's got a good bit of drive as well. And I think the younger, it looks really exciting. He maybe, for me, held onto the ball a wee bit too much against Arbroath, but it'll come. You know, I think Robinson touched on it after the game. He's a guy who's only played maybe, I think, 180 minutes or something since about April. So it's not a lot of football, but I mean, we've got plenty of time to go before we play Motherwell in the first league game of the season. That's what we can use these last 3 games for. Get the points to the board and give lads like them minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I think as well the likes of O'Hara and Strain, like the kind of the 4-3-3 that we're going to be looking to play, it kind of requires people to be able to do a lot in kind of different positions, and I think Strain's kind of played most positions up the right, hasn't he? And O'Hara as well, slotted in basically, like you said, Sam, everywhere at Motherwell. And yeah, O'Hara's kind of his goal return. I think one thing that we've kind of missed over the past few seasons is goals from midfield and goals from elsewhere in the team. We're not relying on, you know, that 20 goal a season striker that definitely exists in Scotland. So we've got these 3 games just as an exercise in getting boys back to some semblance of fitness and sharpness, and Motherwell's a big one. Motherwell's the big one, so we'll see what happens by then.
I think O'Hara's quite a canny pickup as well, and does something that Gogic was doing, where if we're going to go to a back 4 again, you're taking someone with a bit of natural physicality out of the team. You've got one less kind of big tall guy to handle the physical side of the game there. So to have someone in your midfield who, when it does come back to set pieces, where traditionally we've been rank rotten, you do have someone else that's going to be able to, you know, to stand up to kind of physical presences in your box who can do the job of a centre half in that regard. And I don't think Ayunga's far from that either. We've had kind of big forwards who maybe haven't actually held their own, whereas he certainly looks as if he can throw himself about a bit. I think if we're going to play this 4-3-3 and commit more bodies forward, to know that there's then guys in the team that can be flexible and take up other roles from set pieces and from, you know, when required to fill back in for that. I think it's a real positive, and we maybe weren't expecting that from the guy who's going to come in and play a similar kind of role to what Ronan did last year. And O'Hara, someone that's going to rove from box to box. You're kind of almost expecting you would have to put another physical midfielder in on top of that. So I think there's plenty of positives, and versatility seems to be the real kind of order of the day with what Robinson's brought in so far, and I think that was common to his recruitment at Motherwell as well.
And I'm not even, well, I'll try and say his name. He's not been mentioned yet. Is it Olasanya? Is that right?
Olasanya.
Yes, Olasanya. What's your opinion about him? So far I've heard that he's very like Jose Katongo, is the fact that he'll run for a bit and then immediately lose the ball.
I mean, just to kind of start off, kind of try to be fair to the boy, it doesn't look like he's played a lot of football recently. Aye.
That being said, when he has played football, he's looked like Dylan Connolly.
Yeah.
You don't want to be too harsh on him. Like I think it would be really unfair to jump the gun on him after he's only obviously played 2 halves of football, and I think since like a really long time. I think Robinson said he really hasn't played a lot of football even when he was at Middlesbrough, and it'd be really harsh to judge him, but I think he needs to remember when he's running to try and bring the ball with him, because the amount of times on Saturday that he was sprinting on the ball, brilliant. He'd get a wee burst of 10-15 yards. You think, right, here we go, this guy is he's going to take off here, and the ball would end up behind him somehow because he's way too fast for his feet. But listen, like he was brought in as a kind of relatively cheaper option. You know, he's got Robinson said previous for that at Motherwell when he's signed guys in like Sherwin Seedorf and Amaluzer, and I think Amaluzer was an Alexander one.
So a player from Motherwell called Amaluzer?
Aye, there is. Justin Amaluzer. Aye.
Jamie, can you definitely clip up Sam saying Amaluzer so that we can use that at other points?
Out of context, misery hunters.
Aye. As I was saying, like, I think guys like Hilton and Seedorf that he brought in at Motherwell, they're ball carriers. That's what they're there for. If they do their job properly on the wing, they're an out ball. They're going to be able to, at full flight, drag the team 30-40 yards up the pitch, maybe in games against teams like Rangers and Celtic when you're getting pinned inside your box for a long time. It's pace, it gives the opposition something to think about. We didn't have enough of it last year, so hopefully he can kick on a wee bit more confidence, and then we'll see a better Olasanya.
Aye, and we know that Robinson likes kind of boys with pace. Like I think Sam, it was yourself that recommended a Motherwell podcast with Robinson on from a while back, and he was kind of talking about pace is his kind of baseline, and he can sort of coach the rest, but pace first and foremost. And Olasanya's definitely got that, so we've no doubt that he'll provide an option. Certainly, whether he starts, 30-40 games, I wouldn't imagine so, but it's definitely an option, isn't it?
I've maybe got crossed wires, but I'm sure when we first signed him, I was reading into his background, and the move to Middlesbrough, I think, came about as a bit of a gamble. He was one of these players where you could compare him almost to someone like Cook, for example, who had really shone at a lower level, who had all the physical attributes that you would expect, but didn't have that kind of top level training or development that kind of gives you a bit more of a polished player. You could even compare that to Grieve, where he's obviously got something. He's got the fight in him and the physical attributes, but it's fairly obvious at times that he's not come through an academy at a kind of fully professional outfit where he's always knows. He's just so well drilled in the automatic decisions that you make and that you take and you commit to for positioning and other stuff. And Olasanya would seem to have that same kind of background where he's got all these attributes. There's obviously talent in them, and that's how he got a relatively big move before. But he maybe doesn't have the 150 games under his belt at this age that that the guys that have maybe come up through a kind of slightly different system would have done. So probably as a work in progress, he's someone that if he was the finished article, we wouldn't get with our budget and with our kind of squad numbers. Whereas you get him because he's waiting for a stage to kind of prove himself again and actually get that time on the pitch. So I think you just need to give him the benefit of the doubt and see what comes.
Where these players are, I mean, we've got Cowdenbeath on Saturday. That is really, really where a lot of these players are for a lot of our supporters going to need to prove a point kind of here, because Cowdenbeath were like the worst team in the Scottish structure,
And
and I know the only problem is it's away. It's a tough place to go. But you're hoping that you'd win convincingly. But I know that's easier said than done, especially at this early stage of the season and where the preparation's at. But you'd like to see like a couple of boys on the score sheet for this one.
I'm not to kind of. You don't want to obviously tie the expectations, but we really should be sticking 5 or 6 past this lot.
Yeah.
This lot of muck. Really, really a really bad football team. I think someone put on. I think it might have been on Pine Ball Road that their average age of their team was about 23 as well. They've obviously got two starters for them. They're on loan for us, so they're not going to be playing. Like we really should be looking to give this team a bit of a tanking on Saturday. And I was going to say it might kind of take a bit of heat off of some of the players that you got for the Arbroath game. That probably won't, like our supporters are, but it's a good chance to go out there and kind of entertain the fans a wee bit. Go, stick 4 or 5 goals past the team, show them what you can do. Probably get everybody a wee bit more positive than they were after the game last week, and kind of try not to get on the team's back after 2 games into a season, preferably. It's not good.
This is a game.
I think everybody.
Sorry, on you go.
I think everybody underestimates how much it actually does affect players and managers when the atmosphere inside the ground shite.
Yeah, like this is really a game you'd want to see Grieve start in the middle. This is a game where he can really like show what he's about, like, and dare we say it, announce hat-trick.
Aye, you're not going to get a better time for it, are you?
Yeah.
Especially,
I think as much.
No, on you go. Sorry.
I just gonna say, I think as much as like our fans love to kind of lose the head when we do poorly, we love to get carried away with ourselves when we do well. So a good performance on Saturday, a few goals, and we'll be back to thinking we'll be letting the passports out again. So it's just the confidence for the players, the kind of feel good factor for the fans. Like it's not that far away at all. It's just it's doable.
Lose the heat with marginal losses and rip the heat over marginal victories.
But as Mark said earlier,
that was beautiful.
It's the end of the PG era.
As Mark said earlier, like Ayunga against Linfield, like done really well and set up Grieve. So and if he did start sort of in the middle against Arbroath, maybe it is worth pushing him back out wide and having Grieve in the middle and seeing if there's like maybe a bit of a partnership you can create there, because like we all know Brophy is probably the best striker at the club, but unfortunately like he's just been having a really bad time with injuries, and if that happens again, it'd be good to at least Grieve and Ayunga, you can kind of rely on that as a backup.
I mean, I was really impressed with Ayunga against Linfield. I think if you put his name into Twitter after the Linfield game, he was getting 40 goals this season, and then a matter of days after that, he was an absolute hard to get out of the club. So no, I think his movement and his the way he took his goal as well was kind of out of nothing. So that's what we need. So yeah, it's very early to call anything, but we just need a good, just absolutely scalp somebody and just kind of get that out of the system, I think.
I think an ideal world for me would be Ayunga and Grieve starting wide and maybe giving either Offord or Jameson the confidence boost of starting them. Yeah, I think Offord has, for any appearance he's had, I don't think he's ever come off at anything less than like a 7 or 8 out of 10. There comes a point where you need to give him a start and see what he can do in a game that actually means something, that will go down, in recorded history as opposed to a friendly. So I think this is probably as good a chance as you're going to get to have a free hit and do that.
Okay.
Looking at the Airdrie game after it, it does raise like a serious question, and I know we have people from the club who listen in. So the big question is, what's happening with the away shirt? Like, why is it not out yet? Like, we're clearly going to have to wear it against Airdrie. You would think, unless we're making them wear their away kit.
They'll wear their away kit, probably.
That's exactly. Because, like,
we'd still kit clash with our white hoods. So,
so like, see what with the away kit, it's slightly annoying me now that it is taking so long. So I really do think this can go down as a classic, and like I reckon shirt collectors would look into it. But there's already the videos popping up on YouTube of like, the best kits announced so far and all this kind of thing. And to think, even though like St Mirren, we probably wouldn't be in that list anyway. Away Days, which is the biggest kit channel on YouTube, which I tend to watch, he had the Kilmarnock kit in his top 10 that's been released so far. And like a small, like he has quite a big following in the shirt community. So like I reckon that young Ellis would absolutely jizz his pants when he sees that St Mirren kit. And he would have that on his channel, and that's enough to alert like shirt collectors to go out and get that, because the thing is with St Mirren, like Scottish kits as well, they're not mass produced the way like a Man United shirt is. It's going to be rare. It's going to be worth.
We need to go for that. Go for that hipster dollar.
That's literally it, and they'll be worth a wee bit more in the future. But
for sure,
like it seems like it might be something we might be missing out on soon. Even if you just announce it so the shirt collectors have it on their list, it doesn't need to be available yet. But that's that. I just needed to get that off my chest.
Talking of hipster choice away kits, I saw a photo on Twitter last night of that amazing Dundee away kit with the like, the felt tip squiggles. What the fuck is going on with the gap with the numbers on the back of that?
It's not great.
That's
nice
mad.
Kit though. I quite like it.
Did you see Crystal Palace have got the same kit this year as well? There was a team, I can't remember who it was, but a team last season with the same template. I think it's an absolute belter.
Yeah, big fan.
Also, like,
which again will probably make them money out with with Dundee fans, out with Scottish fans. Sorry, Jamie, I interrupted you.
No, that's a good point. But a kit you need to see, which I will actually post in the Discord after we finish recording, and I don't even know who the team are, but it's whoever Yarmolenko just signed for. That kit is bloody beautiful. I'll put it on Discord later. And that's
it's Al Aline. Saudi guys. It's where Rebrov's the manager.
It's nice. That is nice. I'll post that on the Discord, and it's only £3 a month to become a member. And we'll talk about, there are some signing news. We'll talk about those two later. But Dylan Reid looks like, well, it's up to him if he's going to be leaving or not. We'll kind of need to comment on it a bit. It'd be mental if he signed for Celtic, especially in marching season. Like, I think his dad may implode.
His dad would be right into the bonfire if he goes to Celtic, I think.
But that's not very Protestant of you, Dylan.
First signing where you get a hug and a handshake off your dad, and then a wee dig in the ribs right after as well.
Removes his red hands tattoo, the cheese grater.
It's just a bit of a weird one. Like I can obviously see the monetary aspect of it for a young lad at 17. If a team like Rangers or Celtic are going to, I'm presuming they're going to offer him about $2,000 a week.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they're putting $2,000 a week in front of a 17-year-old, I think every single one of our fans needs to give their head a shake.
Yeah,
and kind of needs to realise that I reckon any of us at 17-year-old playing for St Mirren, if you're on about, I don't know what he's on, I'm going to guess he's on about 400 odd quid a week. If that,
if he's lucky, yeah.
I don't care how big a St Mirren fan you are or how much people think you owe the club. You're going to go. Like, it's a job. It's a short career. You could end up getting injured tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, see when he was 15, he chose to stay at St Mirren over clubs in Europe, like Bayern Munich and that. And you might go, well, he's done that before. Why would he not do it then? Unfortunately, the manager who said we'll use you didn't use him.
We were kind of saying this off air. I don't know if it's quite a kind of easy, kind of reductive thing to say, but see if teams like Benfica and Bayern are coming in looking at this boy, why the fuck weren't we playing him? Like, if he's good enough for them, he's good enough to get in our midfield. And I don't know, maybe Goodwin has just done a bit of damage. That Reed's not kind of, it's not fixable. It's not able to be reconciled. So
it's going to dent his trust at least. Like, so
that's it. Yeah, absolutely.
Robinson's talking a good game about our youth. He's not really had a chance. Like, we've seen them play a wee bit more in friendlies and that. He's not really had a chance to put like his money where his mouth is and play the young players in the league. Because obviously the league's not started yet. But like, when he's already had a manager saying stay at us, progress, you'll get first team games, and then that's not happened, and then another big club's come in for him, and he's got another manager coming in saying, look, stay back, progress with us, you'll get first team games. He's going to be sceptical. What happens if he sees this as his chance? He might go to Celtic, he might make it. You know, like, it's easy to say, oh, lots of young players go there and they regret it, they become shite, but lots of young players go there and do well and get in it. Look, Ryan Christie, like,
I think if he had 2 years left on his deal, it would be a slightly different equation, because it would take at face value guarantees of first team football this year. I think under Robinson. So if there was 2 years there and we had an investment to try and promote and protect, then he would get those first team minutes. And instead of talking about him playing for Celtic B this year against Paul Slane, he would be playing top flight football and naturally developing, you know, more quickly as a result of that. But because he's only got that year left, and you know, if the club have caught on to the fact that he's not going to sign an extension at the end of that, he's not going to get those first team minutes this year. Because why are you going to develop someone else's resource at no financial benefit to yourself? So the situation he's in is he either tries to trick us into thinking that we're going to give him, he's going to sign a new deal and get those minutes. He does actually sign a new contract here, or he moves now for guaranteed money and you know, kind of at a higher standard of coaching and development and all the rest of it, but with maybe the short-term hit of not playing against the same standard of opposition that he thought he was going to. And I don't see how you level anything at the player in that circumstance. I think we should have done a better job last year of bringing him on. I know there's been all sorts of stuff about, you know, if Goodwin wasn't bothered about youth, why is he giving Reid his debut? He played 3 minutes in a tanking at Ibrox, and if I remember correctly, that was the only 3 minutes of new academy minutes that season. I think Henderson had made his debut the previous season, so it wouldn't count.
I think he gave Jameson a token of 30 seconds at the start of the season about Ibrox as well. So
that's not youth development. We get to the point last year where we're putting out benches with 3 players on it. You know, we're talking about which of Erwin, Dennis or Main would most like to bring on to plug a gap in midfield. And meanwhile, you've got Reid sent out to Queen's Park at exactly the same time as the lone Luca Connell from Celtic, who's 21 and has played minutes in League One in England already at that point, and is getting bigged up and is like obviously straight into their midfield. It just shows no forward planning or long-term thinking. And I think if Reid goes now for a fee, which you've got to assume if that figure's correct, is just the best we can do, and as shit as that is, it's not because this season we've dropped a clanger with something. It's because over the last 2 years of this boy's contract, we've not pushed him on to the extent that he could have. Otherwise, he would do what he did before and stay in the face of bigger options, because he knows he'll get the trust. Even when he did play last year, you know, from all I've read and all I've spoken about, Reid is this really classy ball carrier. You know, you stick him in front of a back four, he carries the ball with so much composure. You know, it's why he's the Scotland captain for his age group. It's why he's been trusted by, you know, age group managers, and he's been in the performance school and all the rest of it. He's this really, really classy technician. And then when he came on to play for us, the ball was just getting hoofed over his head for the few games that he was actually trusted. It took him to be in that lineup with Offord and all the rest of it against Celtic for us to try and do anything at all.
I think
I wouldn't blame him for going.
I think, having said that, if he does go to Celtic and absolutely smashes it, Jim Goodwin will take full credit.
100%.
He'll take absolute full credit for his development, you know.
Well, someone, Liam McGuinness, rightly spotted 2 new faces in a Sky Sports interview. We'll only mention one because you can clearly see who that is, and that's Oscar Threlkeld. Is that how you say his name? Threlkeld? Do you pronounce Threlkeld?
Great pronunciation, Jamie.
I mean,
He's got that Lundstrom thing about him where I saw the name and I was like, what Danish magician is this? And it turns out he's from fucking Bradford or something.
Radcliffe. But I love I was just having a wee look at like where he's played, and I love the fact he's played for a team called Vassland Beveren, but he only played 2 games.
Belgium.
He's also played a lot of positions, but
yeah,
I think as we've said, it kind of does spell the end of hoping that Gogic will come back. I think when he's 6 weeks into a holiday in Cyprus, I think it's safe to assume that guy's never coming near Scotland ever again.
He's on a gap year.
He has had his stint in shite weather. That guy has had the longest holiday that I've ever seen anybody go on.
He went out for a 2-week holiday and then got a job PRing for nightclubs to stay there as long as he can.
Fair play to him. Like, I think he was kind of beginning to get a wee bit like Eduardo when he was injured at Arsenal. He was getting better every single week that went by that he wasn't signing. But hey, listen, don't get me wrong, he was a great player for us in the 6 months he was here. But you can obviously tell that the club are trying to be a wee bit more proactive. They're bringing in guys to fit the sort of Gogic type, and I think Frelkel looks as if he might fit the bill. He's obviously played right back, he's played centre half, he's played holding midfield, but it looks as if the club are fancy to bring him in as a holding midfielder. So you've got to trust what the management's seeing the guy. They're the ones that's watched him in training every day. He seems to have been pretty successful at Salford when he was playing as a holding midfielder. He's went to Bradford, probably not been great there, but try not to read too much into fans' comments because Hibs fans would have had Gogic as the worst player in the league before he signed for us. So. I
was going to say, like, obviously you're listening to us, you're already making the correct decisions, but see the people that don't listen to us, as soon as they type his name into Twitter, it's going to come up with a lot of shit from Bradford fans, and they're automatically going to write this boy off. He was played in a different position than we're looking him at, different position that he played at Salford that got him the move to Bradford, and you've got to remember, Hibs fans hated Gogic, and like we were ready to put a statue outside for him to come. So, it could be a good decision. We're obviously having a look at him. He's on trial. You can see him. If Robinson signs him, I've got faith. I've got faith we'll do it. So, and if you want
Robinson's hit rate, I was going to say Robinson's hit rate at Motherwell was like 6 or 7 out of every 10 signings were either very good or did a job. So it's just a numbers game. When you're going to use a bigger squad,
it adds a body and it adds versatility, and that's the main thing we should be looking at. So I can't really say I know much about the boy, but I'm all for it. I'm kind of trusting Robinson and Boyle's recruitment. So yeah, all for it if they deem him to be good enough.
Any more transfer speculation or anything you want to talk about?
I was going to make something up there on the spot, but nah, I couldn't think it quick enough because I went for like Graham Shinnie had been linked with coming in or something.
Paul Dummett, get him back in.
Yeah, I've seen big Paul Dummett chatter.
We will be back after this.
Hi, I'm Alex Grieve, and you're listening to Misery Hunters.
Thank you, Alex. So over the pre-season, we decided, there's like Ross and Craig are hardly ever on the podcast now, so we put out a job advertisement. We're looking for a data analyst, and once we got this application, there was only one man for the job. So I'd like to welcome to Misery Hunters, Mr. Dave Cormack.
Hi, Dave. I'll hold the door open for you there. Dave wanted me to say to you that he's had COVID this week, and also that the impression of him wasn't that good anyway. And he's surprised that Jamie's insisting on this being done as a full character for the entire section. But
don't speak for the man. Let him in.
I know, let him speak for
sorry. Hi everybody, it's me, Dave Cormack, the chairman of Aberdeen. What's going on?
So yeah, basically we were aware that like our most popular episodes seem to be when we point out fans' awful opinions, and maybe if we call them out enough, people will start thinking before they start tweeting. So we decided we'd get Dave in to go over the data and give us the worst shit takes of the week.
Oh, if there's one thing I like, it's data. Ah. There you go. That's. Oh, and Dave's actually. He's just. He's just back outside.
Sounds like Lee Sutherland.
Carsbits. I told you this would happen, Jamie. I told you this would happen.
The chance to get Dave on the podcast, we all excited. But I've seen that he just handed you a piece of paper and then ran away. Must be busy.
Yeah, he's looked at all the data and he's got some shite takes here, but he's asked if I could read them out for him because his voice just isn't up to it, he was saying.
Maybe another episode, we'll see. It just depends.
Maybe he'll pre-record something that could be used as an intro for this section, and that could just be played out. Who knows?
We'll let the Patreons decide on Discord.
I know someone who's pretty vocal on that Patreon, and I think I know what he's going to be voting for. So anyway, Dave's given me this list of shite takes, and unfortunately they're not in any kind of order. So this is going to be a bit of a scattergun assassination on the entire St. Mirren fan base, but here we go. First up is one of our beloved Patreons, young Saints fan, 2004.
Oh no,
very vocal member of the fan base, who responded to an SPFL tweet asking for your favourite League Cup memories and said that his favourite League Cup memory of all time was Ismagan Chavez scoring against Hearts in 2013. But his favourite moment of the previous 10 years was Conor McCarthy scoring against Rangers. Which doesn't add up to this one. But he's a nice guy. He pays his £3, so I'm certainly not going to go into fitted on that.
And I'm also convinced he's the best wind-up account on Twitter because some of the stuff he manages to get rights to is incredible. So
he has picked two absolutely belter moments, so fair play.
True.
Yeah, good man.
Maths isn't everybody's strong point, so.
Someone who's definitely not a patron is Stuart Gilmer, so we can go to footed on him.
Aye.
Stuart decided to wait until the day after Paul McGinn joined Motherwell to say that him leaving Hibs would be an opportunity for a right back to return and stick it right up Hibs. And then John Wright responded within 30 seconds to say he joined Motherwell yesterday, Stuart. So his finger on the pulse, as always.
And you wonder why St Mirren were the team they were for the past however many years with that man at the helm.
He's always had that slightly tenuous grip on reality and just common sense.
He seems to forget he appointed Alec May. So,
and Tommy Craig.
Mm-hmm.
And Ian Murray.
Yes, he was
and John Coughlin.
Yes,
not that I'm counting.
And Gus McPherson, who I know got us out of the league, but come on, he's a fucking ass.
Wee Angus was an arsehole, but he was a good manager.
I won't get a bad word against our former technical director on this podcast.
He got his Y Scout. Potentially.
We'll hotfoot it over to Pie and Bovril for an absolutely roasting hot take from the oracle of all intellect that is Posbeard, who decided that it's a bit shite to bring through really good footballers who get linked with Man City or whatever. He'd rather we just brought through solid Shuggy Murray or Van Zanten types who we can get behind. They do a job, but they'll just sail under the radar of other clubs, and we've got them for many years.
Van Zanten types that buggered off to Hibs the first chance he got,
and came through the Celtic youth system.
Yeah.
So,
do you ever just read somebody's opinions about football and think, I'm not sure football's actually for you? Like, what do you get out of it?
Yeah,
what do you want?
Every time I listen to this podcast,
what we do?
Nah, that is a shocker. Why would you want to watch shite players?
You imagine coming in and you're just surprised with your dinner, and it's this smashing 3-courser with a lovely fillet steak and all that, and your partner's looking up at you, just waiting to see how much you enjoy it, and before you take a bite out of it, all of that. I'd rather you just made me mince and tatties because at least I know what I'm getting. You sound like an ungrateful, joyless shitebag.
I guess to purely play devil's advocate, you can sort of see a kind of kernel of a point in terms of like,
fuck up, Andrew.
You want people that are loyal. But I just his kind of wee fantasy world doesn't exist in football anymore. And also even like Shuggy and Van Zanten, like Mansfield and Hibs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
See, also the thing, like, we bringing good players through the academy, like, we kind of go under the radar slightly for this because our official account doesn't tweet about it all the time, but we ride the coattails of John McGinn hard. And like, and you've got to admit, when you've got a player who came through at St Mirren, you saw him and he's actually playing for Scotland, you kind of have a little bit of pride inside yourself for that. So like, yeah, that's a shit take.
And also, to my mind, there hasn't been an example of someone coming through our academy ever and getting 5 minutes of first team football and then signing for Man City or Sampdoria. As Posbeard listens, John McGinn signed for Hibs for a bit after playing like 80 games for us or something.
Kenny McLean went to Aberdeen
after 100 games. So
shite careers there, lads.
Shite opinion. We'll make it a bit more light-hearted. Paul Dunn went to the Arbroath game and then went straight onto someone on Facebook after and said, that was my first game of the season and probably my last. Pyramids. I'm assuming Paul renewed his season ticket before saying that and then also paid into the Arbroath game and then decided that was him. So that's a roasting hot take. We'll give Scott Stafford a shout out for tweeting someone to say that we were shite and the season was fucked and that everything was shite and that he hated everything and that Brophy will never play again and that everything's shite about 18 times in 20 minutes during the Arbroath game. That was good. Good on you, Scott. It's good to keep Twitter busy. Just pouring. I just
don't know how anybody can be arsed. Like, anybody, I think there's a lot of other fans that just don't enjoy watching us. I mean, I don't sometimes, but like I don't.
But do you think it's like all aspects of their life? Like they go and like their wife makes them like dinner and accidentally burns it, and like that's the worst meal in 30 years. I've had enough of this. This is my last meal I'm getting off you for all season and all that shit.
Well, that would imply somebody like Lex's company, but
sticking going back to Pine Bovril. Oaksoft took the signing of Declan Gallagher pretty badly.
Big time.
Said that basically no criminals should ever be released ever for any crime.
Ever? Wow.
yeah. He's sick of criminals with hard luck stories as if they were real victims and that they should not be rehabilitated or be allowed to have jobs anymore or do anything.
I mean, yeah, maybe now's not the place to get into, but that's a fucking ridiculous thing to say. Like, that guy's a grade A walloper. Like, there's nuances to that argument and whatever, but that's fucking stupid.
Really brainy take.
Yeah.
I'll give local journal Kyle Gunn a shout out, who said after with Scotland playing Armenia, he said, with respect, it's Armenia, mate, not Ukraine, which was about 4 days after Armenia beat Ireland. Who then went on to beat us. So fair play on that, shout out.
I missed that one. That's pretty good.
Dave's really done his research here. He pulled in a lot of data. Cheers, Dave. No problem. I must still be sitting at
the window.
Sitting enjoying the bottle behind you. That's all it's.
Aye, sounded a bit like Mickey Mouse there, to be honest. I guess because he's farther away, we can't see him.
Ian Minot on one of the someone Facebook pages saying that he would take Alan McGregor on a free. That's despite us having signed Carson and Alan McGregor having signed a new deal at Rangers. So good on you, Ian.
Was he not also chucking Carson as part of that deal?
Carson had to get chucked for that deal that happened.
Oh yeah, he did actually. Yep. We're fan owned. We should tell Robinson to punt Carson.
I don't know. I don't know if you've got or if Dave's compiled this data. But was there not someone who said that you might have it in front of you that said that because we're fan owned, we should be told about who we're trying to sign and whether we should sign them or something? Was there not something along those lines?
We should have a vote on whether we sign them.
Yeah.
It was a vote on. I think it was a vote on should we be selling Dillabeed or not.
Yeah.
Can't remember who. But
can you imagine the state of our club if we had a say?
Jesus.
Fuck me.
Fucking hell.
I did have
Chris Smith in goals still, if we were allowed to fucking vote, because people, he's a nice guy. Came through the youth setup, what a player.
I do have a tweet from Alan Kelly when I said 125 grand feels like an obscenely low fee for the Scotland under 17 captain. He said, and the boy himself has no say in the matter, as if Dylan Reid's going to negotiate his own transfer fee. Cheers, Alan. I'm sure there was a screenshot of what you were talking about before, but I now can't find it, which is unfortunate. I do have Peter Hamilton in all capitals with no commas when the Rangers cinch decision came out, saying that it was absolutely gutless from the SPFL and St Mirren should be explaining why they agreed with reject. I'm just going to quote this in capitals. So Scottish football gives in to Rangers over cinch deal gutless from SPFL, and the teams could say to explain why they agreed with Rangers continued actions for the next 5 years and still receive their share. So back to you, St Mirren. Please explain your actions on this site. Thanks. So apparently, old Pedro there wants St Mirren's comms team to log into St Mirren supporters on Facebook and lodge an official response to another club's court matter.
Brilliant. I don't. The Facebook pages need deleted. I
don't know, because then we don't have a second half of a podcast.
Dave Cormack would have nothing to do. We'd have to let him go.
Yeah.
Connor Ryan thought the directors' boxes in the corners of the stadium was a shite idea because of the cost of living crisis. That's as if they were asking normal ticket holders to stump up and pay for it, and not companies.
I don't really see how the two are linked, to be honest. I think
every stadium has a corporate box that normal punters don't go in. Yeah. That's not Jesus. And
they wouldn't have made that decision without sounding out that there was demand for it. So
if anyone has ever been to the Player of the Year or like the fundraisers for the youth team, we have a lot of businessmen who will pay fucking a lot for a lot of shite. They know for a fact someone will pay for that, and do you know what? That gets us players. So fair play to them.
Old Firm fans pay a lot for a lot of shite, so that if that's how we get by taking a stand off them, then so be it. We can't really piss and moan for giving them two stands, and then piss and moan when we're presented with the alternatives. So we always will, because we're a bunch of fucking idiots. But
remember when Falkirk had the hot tubs by the state? We should bring them in.
I don't think that's fair on the supporters in this current cost of living crisis.
Get Ross and Shouty woman in it.
Right, I don't know what to say to that, Jim. Gavin Keane cracked the myth of the 20-goal striker. He said it's probably more like a goal every 2 games now, which Fraser Cameron reminded him meant that in a 38-game season would be 19 goals. Always nice to see a shite take instantly shot down in the wild.
20-goal last season strikers at 19 in the League Cup last year.
Barra Buddy Non-Mac on Facebook changed St Mirren's name in a humorous bit of patter to St Mir Still Can't Count to 90, which I've read 300 or 400 times. And
what does that
still
mean?
Say that again?
Know. St Mir Still Can't Count to 90.
St Mir Still Can't.
Why would it be counting to 90?
I think because we conceded in the 93rd minute. As if counting to 90 is what.
It's as if fucking Marcus Fraser's going to tell me that. Ref, by the way, I've fucking counted to 90. That's full time, mate.
I mean, to be fair, he did. So.
Well, he did stuff like that.
So maybe he's on to a point. We've got,
maybe we're the idiots.
A succession of folk that responded to a Scottish Sun article about Joe Shaughnessy's degree to congratulate Joe personally on an article they had nothing to do with. So, just had full conversations with Joe Shaughnessy through the comments of an article that he wouldn't read. That was good. I think we're getting to the kind of bottom of the barrel here.
We'll
Stuart Rennie.
One more.
Stuart Rennie went in 2-footed on Akinfenwa for being an absolutely horrendous defender. And when he was questioned on it, said, "Sorry, got him mixed up with Picawillo."
Were they similar players? Why would they have done that?
Shared a couple of attributes.
both left-footed and tall. That's probably the two ones.
Both very tall boys.
Yeah, that's what it is.
One
It's
was
the tall
also.
one.
Aye. There's also a glaring difference between the two of them as well. The fact that one was good and one was up there.
One was
worst
very
ever.
good.
Yeah, it's kind of black and white issue, isn't it? You know, you're either.
So, if your name has appeared here, don't take it to heart. Just do better.
We love you all.
Yeah, you've gave us content. But like we said, no one is free from criticism. We can be included in this. We don't know. We've gave Dave free reins to collect this data from anywhere, including our Patreon. So even if you're giving us money, well, you have shite takes, we'll still bring them up. But if you do have
Dave
any
was saying he
issues,
was. No, Dave was saying he was quite keen for this section to be a bit better organised next time.
Okay.
Is he going to come? Is he going to come and kind of round out the section? Is he going to say bye?
No, I think he's. No, fair enough. He's done.
Fair enough. But if your name has appeared here and you do have any issues, you can take it up with our HR manager at RD1877 on Twitter. He'll deal with all your complaints and make sure they're dealt with the correct manner.
And that you feel valued as well.
Misery Hunters.
To be fair, Dave did ask that I mentioned that Colin Spence said he wouldn't go to a game again when Borthy plays.
Fair enough. Miseryhunters.co.uk for all our merch. You can read the latest blogs written by Andrew and Mark. Andrew's blog this week has been about Ethan Erehon, which we'll be talking about in our Patreon episode. To join our Patreon, it is patreon.com/miseryhunters. You get extra episodes. You'll be entered into a competition as well to win a match-worn jersey of a St Mirren player from last season. And there'll be more competitions as we go along. You'll also get access to the Discord, where you get to find out stuff like exclusive transfer deals, and maybe we'll get fed up of St Mirren and leak the kit ourselves. Who knows? But we missed this on the Keith Lasley one because we had to be proper, but fuck Alex Ray.
Fuck Eamon Borthy.
Fuck the white home shorts with a home kit.
Fuck Dave Cormack.
Dave,
Fuck you!
Goodbye.